Hi, my name is Remington, and I was given the idea to take a political compass test. Right now I got it screen recording here. I'm gonna take my phone and overlay voice. Start the test. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational organizations. Strongly agree. I always support my country whether it's right or wrong. I support my country, but not my government. So I'll do a small disagree. No one chooses their country of birth, so it is foolish to be proud of it. Disagree. Our race has many superior qualities compared to others. Strongly disagree. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Agree. Military action that defiles international law is sometimes justified. Disagree. There's now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. Agree. Now moving on to the economy. People are ultimately divided by class more than nationality. Strongly agree. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. I'll say disagree. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment. Strongly agree. You got like one company, two, maybe 5 companies that truly respect the environment, but they only do that because either they have the foresight knowing, hey, we're gonna run out of resources, or it makes them more money because environmentally conscious people buy from them. So yeah, there should be regulations. That is the point of the government. For each according to their ability, to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. Agree. The freer the market, the freer people. Strongly disagree, because a completely free market means no government intervention at all. So then you could have workers who are horribly mistreated or horribly underpaid, and they can't help because they're in this cycle of poverty. And so then they have to rely on the government to step in and say, hey, treat these people with dignity. We see it in the Gilded Age with the unions and the trust busting. And now we're starting to see it now in America. And it's a sad reflection on society that something as basic as drinking water is now bottled, branded, in a consumer product. No. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. I disagree with that. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to society. Yes. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. I agree. Sometimes. Not what we see today in America with the tariff war. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver profit to its shareholders. Disagree, because said you have these people, you have these companies, and their entire job is to make sure that the shareholders have profit, and even then, increasing profit. So if you take an example, the streaming wars, streaming by itself is fundamentally a bad idea for the companies, because you can't make money off of it, because you have a small weekly balance, a small weekly subscription or monthly subscription, and then they can have access to a product unlimited times, to where say watching Iron Man, if they watch that movie 5 times, they make their month's worth of money on that one movie. And most people are going to watch multiple movies or take advantage of it. So they so they don't make more money in the future. So then you have price increases, bundles like with Disney, Hulu, and ESPN. You have cable networks bundling the streaming services in, like HBO Max. So when there's this drive to create continuous profit for its shareholders, the quality will go down and the price will go up. Next question. The rich are too highly taxed. Strongly disagree. Now there's something to say. You tax them way too much, they'll leave to another country and take advantage of that country. But in accordance to what's happening in America, they are not taxed nearly enough. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standard. I'm going to disagree. Everyone should have access to medical care, and we shouldn't create a class system based off of money. If I need a heart transplant and a hobo needs a heart transplant, why shouldn't we both get a heart transplant? Why should he have to be on medication for the rest of his life, while I, who's more wealthy, get to have that transplant and have the problem solved? It's the whole $10 boot versus $100 boot. So no. Government should penalize businesses that mislead the public. Agree. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinational. Agree. Strongly agree. Next page. Now look at your personal social values. Abortion when life is threatened should always be illegal. Strongly disagree. All authority should be questioned. Agree. So this whole thing, if a good leader can be questioned and can provide answers to their questions. So if I say, don't touch that hot pan to a group of kids, hey, don't touch that hot frying pan, and they question why, and I explain to them why they shouldn't do that, like it's gonna burn. That's the way we should set up government. Like, why shouldn't we dump toxic waste? Because it's gonna harm the environment. All authority should be questioned, and good authority can answer those questions. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Like Gandhi said, an eye for an eye will make the world blind. Disagree. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on commercial basis. Disagree. And I'll tell you why. Because most theaters or museums aren't going to be solely reliant on the taxpayers. They're going to have their own personal profits, food, ticket prices. But if we have subsidized, that means there's a certain level of quality to them. A certain level, so more people will go there, and when more people go there, they have more money in their pockets to make the theater or museum better, get better exhibits. So, no. So taxpayers should be expected to prop up theaters, and it's art. art is one of the cornerstones of a great civilization. The Romans had it, the Greeks had it. Yeah, moving on. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Strongly disagree. I'm the son of 2 educators. Education is important. Going back to the question of authority, well, why should we force kids to go to school if they want to work? Well, because school leads to smarter people, and smarter people live more fulfilling lives. Was it like Plato or Socrates said, the unexamined life is not a life worth living. So school attendance should be mandatory. And then takes the ability of a great leader to explain to them why. All people have rights, but it's better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own. Strongly disagree. Diversity is what makes it strong. Diversity in competition. Because if someone has an idea that's better than mine and could make more money or could provide a service more efficiently, then why shouldn't they? And then that will force me to make a better product. So diversity leads to competition. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. Disagree. Corporal punishment there's been science behind it. Corporal punishment does not work. It ends up creating a cycle of trauma, and those who break free from it still face their own burdens. Disagree. It is natural for children to keep secrets from their parents. Strongly agree. Privacy is a right, not a privilege. Possession of marijuana for a person who should not be a criminal offense. Strongly agree. And that goes to the whole, and then if you can expand that to should all drugs be outlawed? I say no, but only if we have some type of fallback for it. So, like if you compare, like in Portugal, all drugs are legal, but they also have the mental health infrastructure to take care of these people who are struggling, who turn to drugs. They also have a better standard of living and health care to help people with the drugs. But you look at Canada, and people are like, oh, look at Canada, they outlawed drugs. They made all drugs legal, and it's a complete disaster. It's because Canada didn't do it right. They didn't have the infrastructure, the medical infrastructure for it. The prime function of schooling should be able to equip the future generation for jobs. I'll agree with that. Because not all people can become academics and debate. Some people work good with their hands. So we have welding programs and cosmetology programs. But schools should be setting up people for success and not can they pass a test. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Strongly disagree. It's even disgusting to ask. The most important thing for our children to learn is to accept a discipline. I don't know what this means, per se. Accept a discipline, like control yourself. Yes. But discipline as in punishment. It's a hard one. I'm gonna go, I disagree, but I'm very neutral on that stance. There are no savages and civilized people, only different cultures. I agree. Because you got what white Europeans consider culture and civilized could be barbaric in another country, like in another culture. Like if you take a modern example, when it comes to non-binary people. And majority of European civilizations, queerness is considered unnatural. It's unnatural. But then you have Hawaiian and Polynesian civilizations to where they have this third option of gender. They have this queerness in their civilization. So there's no savages in civilization. It's just different cultures. And then it's the effort of both cultures to try to find a compromise and mutual understanding. Those who have the ability to work and refuse opportunities should not expect society's support. I'll disagree with that, because that's a slippery slope. You say, oh, you're not working, you shouldn't deserve our benefits. Then that goes to, well, people who are out of work temporarily, or people who are injured. They shouldn't reap the rewards of civilization, I believe, because that question can lead to a slippery slope. Plus, when you are troubled, it is better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. That's a hard one. Kind of wish I paid more attention in psychology. I'm going to say disagree. Well, it is important to keep cheerful, but it's also important to have a realistic understanding. Like you take now. For many people, this new administration, where fascism is on the rise, it is a very depressing thing. And so people want to hide. People want to find a distraction. People want to hide. People want to find a distraction just to not think about what is happening in our country now. And I don't blame them. But it's also important to remember that these things, government overreach, constitutional crises, all this bad stuff happening now, we have to realize it is happening. So while yes, it's okay to take a day to read a book and drink tea and just chill out, or to turn your phone off for a day, go on a detox and stop doom scrolling everything bad happening in this country, yes. But it's also important we have to face the issues that are happening in our country now, or at least address them. And there's also other ways you can find joy in these trying times, like the No Kings protest. The No King protest, people are like, oh, nothing's going to happen. There's going to be no legislation change. There's not going to be any government support. There is. And sure, they may be right. But what I found so inspiring about the No Kings protest is that there was so many people who were like-minded, who were tired and didn't want this administration and all its evil doing. And you can find joy in solidarity. Moving on. First-generation immigrants can never fully be integrated with a new country. I'm going to agree, but solely based on a psychological standpoint. It is true. There will always be that, am I good enough to be American? What's good for most successful corporations is ultimately good for, well, strongly disagree. What's good for the most successful corporation could be dumping thousands of waste into drinking water because it's cheaper. But then we're drinking the water. That's not good for all of us. No broadcasting institution, however independent its context, should receive public funding. Strongly disagree. Because it's the same thing I said about museums and theaters. It's the arts. It keeps people informed. That's almost what government has turned into. It's a service to the people. That's why you serve as a member of Congress. Moving on. And how do you see the wider society? Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. Strongly agree. Especially with the Patriot Act, which is the most famous example, and you probably know. Patriot Act, they took our right to privacy in the name of counterterrorism. So this was made, I don't know however many years ago, but I feel like it's referencing that time. The significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all arguments that delay progress in a democratic state. Strongly disagree. Because there's still infighting in a one-party state. It's just the elite instead of the people. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. Strongly disagree. Because you look now, bad people get in power. People who do the right thing are being punished. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crime. Strongly disagree. Because if we cannot be better than those who have committed the most heinous crime, then who are we to judge them? In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. I'm going to disagree. Not strongly, but I'm going to disagree because there's always going to be a social hierarchy, but it doesn't have to be one person at top, one person below. It doesn't have to be. It could be more equal, but there will always be some sense of social hierarchy. Abstract art doesn't represent anything else and shouldn't be considered art. Strongly disagree. Art is subjective. So, and what I find in abstract art is it's what the artist is explaining it's supposed to be. And then it's also, when there's no plaque to explain it in museums, it's also what you think it's supposed to be. So if I look at this little stress ball and I see, you might see, it's a beaten up stress ball. You might see, I'm very stressed, but to me, it's a sense of joy and comfort because I use it to squeeze. It's different interpretations, and art makes you feel. And what most people don't like about abstract art is it doesn't make everyone feel uniform, and it has people having different opinions about one thing. So abstract art is art. It makes people feel. And the criminal justice punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. Strongly disagree. It's a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. I'm going to do a small disagree because there are some people who are just born evil, but they could get medical help. They get medical help, but sometimes it's just too much resources. But I believe most criminals can be rehabilitated. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. I'm going to go disagree. Because, you might have the business person who provides things for the artist and the manufacturer who makes it. The writer and the artist are able to create something that the business and the manufacturer can't. They can create emotion. They can create inspiration. You can't package that and sell it. Right? Like I said, with some art, it's all different. It's all different interpretations, and it makes people feel different ways. And you can't package inspiration. You can't package all that stuff. And the writer and the artist can inspire change. You can't put a price tag on change. So, writer and the artist are more important. Mothers may have a career, but it's the first year to be homemakers. Strongly disagree. Come on, guys. It's the 90s. Everyone should be equal. Almost all politicians promise economic growth, but we should heed the warning of climate science that growth is determinal to our efforts to curb global warming. Detrimental, sorry. I agree. You can't have an economy if you have no planet. So I'll agree. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. Agree. If you go through onto religion. Astrology accurately explains many things. Disagree. It's fun though. I enjoy looking at my horoscope and matching the whole things. Yeah, it's fun. But sometimes it's not quite accurate. You can be moral without religion. Agree. Because what is religion but its own society? Its society creates morals. Charity is better than Social Security as a means of helping people who are generally disadvantaged. I'll say disagree. Because charity relies on the goodness of people, Social Security helps everyone. And then there's also the whole race playing into it, class playing into it. It's charity can be selective. Social Security doesn't necessarily have to be. Some people are naturally unlucky. I'm gonna disagree because I know what that means. It's basically saying that some people are just unlucky. They just have a bad card in life, but most of that is systemic, or most of that is untreated mental health. It's a lot of factors that we can solve. So while some people are unlucky in today's society, yeah, but we can solve it. It's important that my child instills religious values. Strongly disagree. No, on to page 6. Now look at sex. Yes, please. Sex outside of marriage is unusually immoral. Strongly disagree. You be you. Same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility. Agree. You can't have people going, hey. Can't people going, hey, have the baby put it up for adoption, and then people who are willing to adopt these babies, you can't go, no, we don't want you. Come on. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the all population. Agree. Most people probably gonna disagree with me, but it's art. It's its own form of art. What goes on in private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Agree. Strongly agree. No one can feel naturally homosexual. Strongly disagree. These days, openness about sex has gone too far. Disagree. When you have an open discourse, it brings education to the topic and creates safety because there's more awareness. So let's see where I stand. I am libertarian left. So, what does that mean? So yeah, I think that's it. Thanks. And economically very left, I believe the government should support, but also I believe the government should stay out of our lives. And and I think that reflects my politics a lot. One of the most frustrating things I find living in Texas is that the party of small government is constantly involved in personal lives, but won't help. And then also, I believe that the government's purpose is to serve the people, because we give up complete freedom for the government to help, for the government's protection, and protection includes economic protection. The protection includes educational protection, or protection from stupidity. So yeah, libertarian left. Bye, I guess.